Sure. Hi, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the CripTech Incubator information session on behalf of Leonardo, the International Society for the Arts, Science, and Technology. I'm Vanessa Chang, Senior Program Manager at Leonardo. I use she, her pronouns. I'm mixed Asian and white with straight shoulder-length brown hair, dangly gold earrings, and a white top. My virtual background is of a large sculpture of graffiti mounted to a gray wall against a colorful backdrop of graffiti writing. My access needs are being met.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lindsay Belt, Disability and Access Lead for CripTech Incubator. I use she, her pronouns. I am white with long wavy light brown hair, glasses, and a black top. My virtual background is a picture of a gallery exhibition with a graffiti sculpture and a projection of a wheelchair dancer. I identify as deaf and my access needs are being met through closed captioning and video.
At this point, I'd also like to invite Claudia Alec, CripTech Incubator's Intersectional Inclusion Advisor, to introduce herself. Claudia?
Hi, hello, everyone. So I'm going to do a slightly longer introduction for myself. Claudia Alec, visual description, African-American woman. I have an afro. I'm wearing a pink houndstooth dress. I've got arthritis gloves on, and I'm sitting in front of a similar projected background to Vanessa and Lindsay, which is the physical space that I met them in. I am a disabled and national leader in accessible and decolonized performance design. My affiliations are co-president of the Network of Ensemble Theaters, advisor to HowlRound Digital Creative Commons, board member of Northwest Art Streaming Hub, advisor to the National Disability Theater, producer with Unsettling Dramaturgy, Crip and Indigenous Colloquium, and advising the National Play Project with the New England Foundation for the Arts. Lots of beautiful projects we're producing. I won't share those with you. So grateful to be here in the space to help make this as accessible and justice-based as possible. Check.
Thank you, Claudia. Before we begin, I'd like to first share our agenda for today. So, we've already introduced ourselves and we'll now give a brief overview of CripTech Incubator, our objectives, the application process, artist eligibility, the timeline of the whole project, and residency sites. After that, we'll take a brief break and then we'll open it up for questions.
Okay, sorry about that. My script is getting all switched up here. Okay, so we wanted to let everyone know this session has live closed captioning and ASL interpreters, which we pinned. So to access the subtitles, you can click on the CC button at the bottom toolbar to enable these, or you can also click the option for view transcript if you want to see the whole conversation. We also wanted to ask if anyone here is using a screen reader. If you are, perhaps you can DM us. And if so, then we will reserve the public chat for anything you like to share with the group and DM private questions, okay? And then finally, we just wanted to say, if you have additional access needs, please DM Vanessa, Lindsay, me, myself, and Claudia.
Thank you, Lindsay. All right, so it seems like we have screen readers here. So let's hold the chat and please DM me, Lindsay, or Claudia if you have questions. Thank you. All right, so I'd just like to start by giving a summary of CripTech Incubator. So CripTech Incubator is an art and technology fellowship centering disability innovation. It is a platform for disabled artists working in media art to innovate in aesthetic access. So this project is built on Leonardo's full cycle creative engine, which supports the trajectory of an idea from conception through incubation and dissemination. It remakes that entire design cycle through the lens of accessibility. So incubator artists will participate in cohort workshops, residencies, and have the opportunity to show their work in an exhibition and in a special issue of Leonardo Journal, the premier publication for art, science, and technology collaboration for over 50 years. Artists will receive an $11,000 stipend and a $500 travel stipend. I'd also like to note that CripTech Incubator is generously funded by the California Arts Council Innovations and Intersections Grant, for which we are very grateful.
Okay, so our core objectives for CripTech Incubator is designed to build infrastructure for media art making that centers lived experience of disability and disability innovation, and seeks to create new avenues of access for that engagement. So we're really hoping to support the creation of artworks built on diverse embodiments and perceptions of the lived experience of disability. We recognize disability innovation as a practice that can fundamentally reorient art making and aesthetics. So the incubator is grounded on 2 pillars of access. First, supporting the diverse abilities and backgrounds of artists to create and collaborate on media works like game, virtual reality, and AI. The list is obviously, this is only a few examples here. And then second, we aim to sustain innovation in aesthetic access and invite artists into this practice. By centering access as a core creative engine, not as a function of compliance or retrofit, a platform supports the development of artworks that can communicate the aesthetic experience in as many ways possible. We also seek to develop a replicable model for CripTech Incubator. So our broader goals are to reproduce and scale this project on a national and potentially even international scale. And we hope to achieve this through a parallel process of documentation with artists through a cutting-edge platform called Groundworks, which is designed for arts-inclusive research projects and reflection on the process that drives interdisciplinary collaboration. So this will first help serve artists' reflections on their process. Second, inform publication within Leonardo's journal. And third, inform education around access in arts and art making.
I'd like to talk briefly about the application process. So we're doing a 2-part application process. Round 1, which is currently open until the 15th of May, is an open call designed to be a low barrier expression of interest for artists that requires minimal time. So in this round, we're really assessing eligibility and availability and asking for some basic information about how to contact you, your location. You can share links to your website and your social media presences, your access needs, and as well, two brief open-ended responses, your very short bio and a short description of your creative practice. If you prefer, instead of a 200-word text description of your creative practice, you can leave a 2-minute voice memo or a video recording. You don't have to do it all. You can just choose one, okay? So between the 15th of May and 1st of June, we'll review these submissions and invite eligible artists to submit more detailed project proposals for round 2. Then round 2 will be open from the 1st of June to the 15th of July. For this round, we'll ask invited artists about their proposed projects, information about the skills they have, and then the skills they would need to do it, the relationship of your project to this incubator and to residency sites, and also to submit work samples. From 15th of July to mid-August, a jury will review those submissions in consultation with our residencies, and we'll invite finalists for interviews. We'll then match artists and residencies and aim to announce the cohort by the end of August.
So we're going to talk next about artist eligibility. So this incubator is designed specifically for disabled artists. That said, we understand disability expansively as a cultural identity and as a way of being. We are interested in being as inclusive as possible and are not subscribing to a particular definition, medical or legal framing of disability. For artists who are new to this space or this community, we invite artists across the spectrum of bodily, cognitive, and sensory differences and capacity. We are not going to require documentation or proof of disability. We also wanted to highlight, as Vanessa mentioned, because we are funded by the California Arts Council, Californian artists based in the Bay Area California artists in general are a better place to engage with the residencies, which are more long-term. That said, we also welcome international and also national artists. Please be aware, though, that there are restrictions on funding travel because of our funding sources with the AAC. Though all artists will receive a stipend that they can apply towards travel. CripTech Incubator and our residency partners cannot sponsor visas, but we can provide supporting documents such as letters of acceptance or certificates of participation. We have already received a number of really excellent questions about project proposals, access needs, and fit, and we can certainly address these and other questions in the Q&A. I did want to note, though, that the application process, especially the two-pronged application process, is designed to evaluate eligibility and fit for our resources, capacity, and objectives. The first and second round calls are designed to help you provide us with a more detailed picture of your project and access needs. And the second round proposal invites you to share these considerations in much more detail. The incubator is committed to meeting your access needs and supporting your project to the best of our and our residency partners' abilities. So we're going to move to the timeline now. So Vanessa has outlined a little bit of the 2021 timeline, so the two-part call. So some of this has already been explained, but I did want to highlight the long-term trajectory of this project. So residencies, once the jury selection and the finalists have been offered, the residencies will begin in 2022. The timeline for the specific residency sites is a little bit variable. Vanessa is going to talk about this shortly, and it is residency specific. But we are going to be having check-ins with the artist cohort virtually over the course of the year of 2022. So there'll be an opportunity to form collaborations and partnerships within the cohort. And then in the year 2023, we're looking for the outcomes of the incubator. So artists will have an opportunity to create works for an exhibition. At this time, we are planning to have the exhibition at the ASU Herald Examiner building in Los Angeles. We're also collaborating with ASU to build an online course that draws on this incubator, specifically considering access and technology within art. And then finally, we will invite artists to publish in a special edition of Leonardo's journal, which has been the #1 journal for 50 years in art, science, and technology. We're in conversation with other partners about an adjacent lab to develop your ideas or skill sets. And that may be something that you can be a part of if you're interested. And then, as we mentioned earlier, we plan to document this project throughout the course of the residency and exhibition alongside groundworks with artists' permission and engagement. This partnership is really designed to support your own artistic reflections and practice as individuals, but also within your cohort, and will enable us to both evaluate the success of the incubator and share learnings from this incubator with other communities.
So during the 2022 incubation year, artists will be incubating their projects at different residency sites. Each of these have different approaches, structures, timelines, capacities. So I'd like to touch on these different aspects, and actually note for most of them, the nature of the engagement with these spaces will depend on the artist and the project selected. They are fairly flexible depending on those parameters. We're also lucky to have most of the residency directors in attendance here today. So if you have specific questions, they may be able to clarify that. As we discuss them, I also invite these residency directors to jump in and clarify any points. For artists invited to round 2, we'll include more detailed information about each site so they can better tailor their proposals. At this point, I'd also like to add that these sites do not offer a dedicated team of support engineers per se, nor are they production shops to churn out tools and technologies for your projects. Rather, they are supported spaces for incubating and co-developing ideas and your art projects with you. So I'll go through the different residency sites and talk a little bit about what their approaches and what the timeframes are here. So to begin, and on this slide, I've arranged the different logos of the different residence sites along the left, and in a column next to each of one of them, I have written the title of the residency, the location, and the duration and span of each residency. So ThoughtWorks Arts Residency is a global technology research lab based in ThoughtWorks, a global agile software company. So this residency will be based in San Francisco. It's a 16-week intensive residency directed by Ellen Perlman and Andy McWilliams. The residency will take place in spring, so March to June or April to July, about that time frame. ThoughtWorks Arts is not a production shop, but a co-exploration and development incubator to expand inquiry with a deep dive into results. Depending on the nature of the project, ThoughtWorks will provide specialist software and design support from ThoughtWorks engineers. If an artist would like, they can get a working desk at ThoughtWorks Arts in San Francisco. Past residency themes have included the implications of artificial intelligence, mechanical movement, volumetric media, synthetic media, and the democratization of artificial intelligence via blockchain. Ellen and Andy are here. I don't know if you'd like to add anything at this point, or if we can leave that to later if that comes up.
No, I would say just go on and
Okay.
we'll answer questions.
Great. Next up is Nokia Bell Labs through the Experiments in Art and Technology program. This is located in Sunnyvale, Silicon Valley, directed by Dunal Hernan. So this project is a mix of, this site includes a mix of remote and on-site engagement. It is an intensely, deeply collaborative mode, and that's meant to be mutually beneficial to the artists and scientists and engineers at Nokia Bell Labs. So the long research vision of Nokia Bell Labs is to develop new ways for humans to connect emotionally and to go beyond the limitations of spoken word and written word in sharing emotions and leveraging technologies to develop deeper human connection. So artists interested in working at this site should somehow fit within that research vision, which is pretty expansive. So, and particularly within the context of this project. They've worked with artificial intelligence, machine learning, augmented reality, virtual reality. At Nokia Bell Labs, typically the first 4 to 5 months of a residency are research-based, pure exploration, where artists meet as many people they have an appetite for, and getting to know the technologies and people on site who you might want to collaborate with. After that, you then put together a more specific project proposal, which involves some of their technology and some of their engineers, and make something to show. Artists working at Nokia Bell Labs have shown at New Museum, the Sundance Sundance Frontiers, New Frontiers Festival, among other sites. So ultimately, you get to work with their world-leading technologies, as well as scientists and engineers on site, and well as remote consulting with Dunal and his team on a regular basis. Next up, the Berkeley Disability Lab, led by Professor Karen Nakamura. Through the lab, the Berkeley Disability Lab will connect the resident with the robust disability community at Berkeley, which includes the Disability Cultural Center next to the lab. So the particular nature of this engagement depends on the nature of the project. So the artist wants research support. The lab can support 1 to 2 undergraduate research apprentices for the year who might have the skills they want or need for their projects. The lab can also support them being a research associate at the university to have access to university resources. And then depending on the nature of the project, the lab would support faculty collaboration at Berkeley with the appropriate department. So those are the 3 San Francisco Bay Area residencies. And because they are a little longer, generally it's a residency in the San Francisco Bay Area is advised to do this. The next residency is Santa Barbara Center for Arts, Science, and Technology, or SBCAST. It is an independent residency center in Santa Barbara, founded by Alan Macy, where a community of residents, some short-term, some longer-term, artists and engineers coexist in a creative encounter. So this residency is an on-site intensive for 8 weeks. Housing for this is provided, as well as a workspace and tech support to engage with their tools and technologies, which encompass software and hardware tools. So among their many affordances, they have a programmable media environment, which can deliver sensory data across a wide range of sensory frameworks and measure physiological data, as well as a haptic floor. So that residency will take place in July and August of next year, where the resident can live on site and really immerse in the project. Finally, Beal Center for Art and Technology, connected to the University of California, Irvine, is a residency that is largely remote faculty collaborations facilitated by Beal director, David Famillion. So for this residency, much of this work can be done off campus, and the collaboration will be supported and facilitated remotely. At this point, an artist would visit, at some point, an artist will visit Irvine for a couple of weeks. It could be in one shot. It may be a week and then a week, 3 to 6 months later to kind of shore up the collaboration. And it's housing can be provided for that particular on-site collaboration. So the best way to work with Beal is to look through the Irvine website for potential faculty you might be interested in collaborating with. So while that faculty member may not end up being available, that usually leads to other generative collaborations where someone might work with you to develop or fabricate something. All right, so at this point, I'd like to touch on a question that has come up, which is, can these residencies be conducted remotely, whether due to COVID-19 travel restrictions or individual access needs? So at this time, we anticipate that artist residencies will be in person, but are open to dialoguing about the possibility of remote residencies. Ultimately, it depends on the nature of the project and the progression of the pandemic, and as a form of accommodation. So we're in dialogue about that. Okay, so we just gave you a whole lot of information. We'd like to, at this time, just take 3 minutes to do a quick think or bio break.
So yeah, we just also suggest that if you want to use this break, you can start to compose and think about some questions that you want to frame for us and for the group. And we invite you to DM Vanessa with your questions, and then we will call on you and ask if you would like us to read your questions or if you would like to ask it yourself. And if you have a private question that you don't want to be recorded, mention this in your DM, and we can either respond over DM or address your question in the last 10 minutes when we stop recording. Okay, so we're going to stop here and have a moment of silence.
All right. So at this time, we'd like to invite people to submit questions to us. A little bit of framing about how we like to facilitate that. Please DM me your questions. So we'll call, as you DM questions, we will call on you and ask if you would like us to read your question or if you would like to verbalize it yourself. If you choose to verbalize your question, please say your name, do a very quick visual description of yourself and your surroundings. No need to editorialize. And a reminder, if you have a private question to ask that you don't want to be recorded, DM and we'll respond in DM or set up a breakout. Oh wait, no, that's not it. We'll do it in the last 10 minutes when we turn off the recording. All right, so I'm just receiving some questions here. And let me just review them 1 second. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, so here's a question from Shanika. Shanika, would you like us to read your question or would you like to say it yourself? I can say it if you would not like me to. I'll read it. Okay, great. Okay, so do artists who apply have to have previous experience with technology such as AI, VR, or gaming? Can this be a first foray into technology? Are there specific skills that are required? So that is a great question. I would say that you don't need to be an expert in the technology that you want to work with. However, it is helpful for our purposes and for being able to frame the project and understand what it needs. If you can have some technological background or vocabulary that will help you to frame that. So when you, if you're invited to the second round, we'll ask you like, what is the project? What do you want to work with? What do you hope to achieve? What skills do you have and what skills do you need? If that's something that's difficult to articulate, then it's more challenging for us to sort of understand what existing residencies have and the capacities that they have, how they may support you, because there are some limitations there. Okay. All right. Just okay. Lindsay, do you want to take the next question or pass it on?
Sure. Okay. Hi, everyone. This is Lindsay. So the next question, I'm not sure who this was from. Vanessa's still updating the document. This is for Santa Barbara, for SPCast. I thought I heard you mention something about a haptic floor. Was that right? If so, what is that? So this is a great question. Should we open it up to the folks from SPCast to talk about this?
I'm here.
That'd be great. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Dave. He, him, I'm in a round room with a big light above my head. A haptic floor is essentially a floor with a lot of vibrational motors that can be programmed through different means and simulate movement of different types. So something like you'd see in a virtual reality ride where the seats move, the floor does that. So it can be programmed to music, to different visual inputs and different things like that. So that's what a haptic floor is.
Hi, David. There was also another question about this. So if we can just take another minute on the floor. So this was a question from Marina. And Marina noted that the residency seems to be a good fit for the project, specifically on puppetry, animation, embodiment, and sensory data. but I have no technological experience with haptics, only interest. Is that an immediate disqualifier?
I think that haptic is pretty basic stuff. So if you have a concept that you're trying to make work with some sort of haptics, we could probably help with that. So I wouldn't say it's a disqualifier, but I would say it probably needed a little more information or a little more research to be done. Does that make sense?
Thank you, David. Okay, let's see.
Sorry, just trying to keep up here.
Okay, I can take over, Vanessa.
Okay.
All right, so this is a question from MG, I believe. What kinds of artists and technological skills are expected of artists who'd like to participate either at UC Irvine or UC Berkeley? Okay, so if anyone from these residency sites are here and would like to speak to that, I invite you into this space. I believe we have some. Is that right, Vanessa?
Yeah, I think Karen's here, and I think I saw David Vermillion as well.
I'm here. What was the question again? What was the question?
Would you like me to read the question?
Yeah.
Okay, well, my name is MG. For visual description, I am a white femme with long brown hair, and I've got a flower print blouse on, and behind me is a white wall with some of my printed artworks. The question is, I think this was kind of already asked, what kinds of artistic and technological skills are expected of artists who would like to participate at UC Irvine or UC Berkeley?
Well, for me, it's the same. We'd like people to have some knowledge so they can communicate with their collaborators. It makes it much easier for them to understand what you need. But that's, it'll depend. I mean, if we like it, we'll figure it out. It just depends on what the project is. I'm very flexible. So, but I normally have worked with people that knew, not necessarily, they knew some of the technology, but they also knew the field with which they were asking for the help. Like one person was interested in working people in physics, and they understood the physics of their project very well. So it isn't always technological, it could be conceptual also, just the scientific background. If it's a science kind of issue, if you know the science well, it makes it a lot easier.
Hey, this is Karen Nakamura from UC Berkeley. It's great to see everyone and great to see a really excited group of artists and innovators. So for UC Berkeley, I think we're pretty open. One of the advantages of our lab is that we have a lot of undergraduates who are interns there who are coming from a broad variety of backgrounds. We have mechanical engineering students, computer science students, we have environmental sciences students. And so I think we can accommodate a pretty broad range of people. But as the saying, we want you to sort of know, I mean, you're the ones who are coming with a vision, and you might think, have these thoughts about, well, we want to do this. But I think we'll need some guidance as to exactly how you envision that happening, right? And so there is some language. We can bring you up to speed on some things. And I think that's going to be important that, we all get up to speed, us on your vision and how you're centering disability culture. And then, one of the advantages of UC Berkeley is that you don't have to do a lot of that disability 101 stuff with us. We're pretty well centered there, but there might be particularities that you're bringing. And then if there are tech skills that you need or that you want us to grow, that's what we really feel that our lab is really about building the competence in the community to be able to do these cool things. And that's why we're excited to be a partner.
Thank you, Karen. As a corollary, I think to, I mean, MG had some other questions. So MG asked if there are disabled faculty members at UC Irvine. David, I'm not sure. Is this something you might be able to answer at this point?
I'm getting to meet a group that's working somewhere in this area. At least that's what my someone I work with in the art department. And so I've communicated with them, but it wasn't the right time yet to fully see what the participation is going to be. I told them about this meeting. I don't know if anybody's here from there, but I will interrogate them more to see whether it's just research in this area or there's people with disabilities on their either students or faculty in this collaboration. So I think they've gotten some funding, and it's just not clear yet to me what they're going to offer.
All right, thank you, David. MG asked a specific question about whether faculty will be available as collaborative faculty. I think I'll answer that it depends. If you're interested in working with specific collaborative faculty, it's a good idea to know who those faculty are. They may, Beal can facilitate reaching out to them, but that doesn't guarantee that they will necessarily be available, but they can support you finding connections to support a project.
Neil, let me just, what we've found is it's usually PhD students and that are the best, that their research may match what you're doing and be very, the faculty will be sort of there as a help. But that's been the most enthusiastic collaborations have happened with like PhD students.
Thank you for clarifying. All right, a couple of questions that will be quick to answer. Dominic Bradley asks, if you have a partner, can you apply as a team? If you do want to, if you have someone you're collaborating with, you can apply as a team. And then depending on the project and the kind of capacities of the residency sites you're interested in working with, that's something that we'll consider as we look at the applications. So short answer, yes, you can. And the application asks that if you're asking for someone to collaborate with. Yo-Yo Lin asked, I'm wondering how many people will receive the residency. So we have 5 residency sites. We have budgeted for up to 6 artists. So at least 5, but if there is a collaborative team that ends up being a good fit for a particular residency site, then we'll also support that collaboration at that residency. And then Marissa Olson asked, Marissa would like to ask. Marissa, would you like to ask your own question? Marissa Olson.
Oh, sure, that's fine. For anyone who's wants a visual description, my video channel is actually muted, so it's just my name. And I just wanted to ask if people apply, I'll go back and look at the guidelines, but I'm assuming we apply to a specific site when we apply. So I was wondering if you don't get into a specific site, is it possible to be considered for a different site? And or can you possibly consult with people at other sites? There are just so many great sites here. It's almost hard to really choose exactly which one to apply to. I almost want to apply to more than one, to be honest. Have to really focus.
Sure. Yeah, so you can apply to more than one. In our first round application, you can check as many that you are interested and available and being considered for. For round 2, as you think about your project and do a bit more, we'll include more information about these sites. You may start to articulate your project in ways that kind of better suit these sites, but certainly we'll be considering people as alternates and kind of for list all the sites you're available for. And we'll consider that as we get through the application process and the jurying process. Can they consult with people at a site other than the one which they are a resident? I would say, like, I don't want to commit other residencies to necessarily supporting people who aren't on residencies at a site. However, we're very interested, and I believe a number of other residency directors are as well, in creating an ecosystem of support throughout the participating residency sites and artists in this project. So our hope is that there will be a circulation of information and a circulation of projects and a real kind of sharing ecosystem. But in terms of not being able to access the resources at one site while working on another site is not something I think that we can entirely support at this time. Okay. Lindsay, do you want to take the next question?
Sure. Okay, so this question is from Vanessa Cruz. What kind of art mediums are allowed to be proposed? Performing art as an option is sort of one of the questions here because I'm interested in merging tech with it. So the short answer to this is we are open to a number of different mediums. We welcome proposals and projects that dovetail with the performing arts. So there are lots of really interesting opportunities there, pardon me. So I would say, again, I think there's a lot of opportunities to think about different mediums here. That's really one of the goals of this incubator, is to really challenge and invite artists to bring their different mediums, maybe it's multiple mediums in a project, because this is really one of the goals of aesthetic access. So hopefully that answers your question there.
Great. Then there was a question about whether the UCSB is the allosphere at UCSB is accessible. I want to clarify that SBcast is not part of UCSB, even though there are many generative connections between them. So what this residency offers is on-site support at SBcast, and perhaps through facilitated connection, you may find conversation and support at UCSB, but there isn't. It's not part of it. Okay, and then here's a question from Aminder, who asks what kind of access support, intersectional based, what intersectional based access support artists, high risk disabled artists may be able to request, international high risk disabled artists are able to request. And if the residency can be part remote and part on site, would this be seen as a disadvantage not being there to interact with facilities? So we are committed as much as possible to supporting artists' access needs. We have a budget to support access needs. However, we are a small nonprofit, and we have to be mindful of our own capacity and our kind of budgetary limits right now. We also mentioned that our funding is currently mostly from the California Arts Council, though we are fundraising. So it's difficult for us at this time to support international travel, but it's something that we're working on. Is it a disadvantage? I would say, you should articulate what your access needs are, and we will do our best to support you if that's within our capacity. We want to be able to support the artists who, throughout the residency, that become part of them. So it's not a disadvantage, but we are not without, we do not have unlimited resources to address that. However, we're open to dialogue and open to working with people as much as possible. The residency can be part remote and part on site. The best residency for that would be the Beal Center for Art and Technology, because that's how the residency is structured. It is largely remote with some on-site engagement. So the short answer is yes, there's at least one residency where it's inherently built that way. And as we mentioned, we're kind of thinking about what a project might need and thinking about what is possible to do remotely. It really depends on what a project is. There's some projects that can serve a remote residency much better than others. So that's something that we would do in conversation with each other and with the residency sites.
Hey, this
Okay.
is Claudia, just doing a little access interruption to remind us that we're not using the chat for casual communication since it triggers screen readers. Check.
Thank you, Claudia. All right, I think we've addressed that. Okay, so Jennifer Hall asked, can you tell us more about the emotions-based project opportunities at Nokia Bell Labs? So to clarify here, Nokia Bell Labs, particularly as a whole, and then under that banner, the experiments in art and technology, have a kind of research, a larger research vision of emotional and like using technologies that can kind of transcend the limits of existing technology and foster better forms of emotional connection and communication. So that's the larger research vision. It's pretty capacious, and the artists that they have in mind to support would somehow fit within that frame. Given the kind of work we're interested in supporting and the kind of expansive vision of like cripping technology, I think it's a pretty straightforward in many ways. It's a great opportunity to be able to kind of make that bridge. So the work that you would do there would really be about kind of fostering connections on site, finding people to work with, learning more about the technologies that they do have, and developing that your artistic project in a way that would support that larger research vision. Okay, that clarifies it. All right, and I think tools. Is there anything? I think I've got all of those. All right, so we're just getting into the last 10 minutes at this time. So we're going to turn off the recording to address questions that people may not want to have recorded. Okay.
Which is, what we look at always first is the concept. That's really the most important thing. It sounds like there's a lot of emphasis on tech here, which there is. But, a lot of people have tech skills and they don't have good concepts. And that's the difference, is if you have a very strong concept and you have some vision of how you want to do it, that is the most important, and you can map that out. I would say don't be frightened by the tech. See it as an additional partner, but not as the driver or lead. I think, we want to make art. We don't want to make products. So that's, the artist vision is very, very important. And so realize that this is being offered as an artistic residency, not a tech residency. Okay, so keep that in mind.
And if I can add to that, I believe that doing interviews is part of the process. And so when we talk to you, I think we'll get a good sense of what your vision thing, to play off words, is. And so, you might not have the words exactly available for the tech, but hopefully this is what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be an interactive process where we help to really, hone and see the feasibility of what you want to do. I mean, it's really exciting for us because we have many of those tech pieces that we want to give to you guys and really make your sort of vision come true.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Karen and Ellen, for ending on that note. I think this is a good moment to close. With that, we invite you all to be in touch if questions remain. I'll follow up with a follow-up email linking to our FAQ, and we'll update with any questions that have come up that are relevant. So if other questions remain the next little while, please let us know, and we're eager to read about your work. Thank you so much for all being here.
Thank you all so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.